Hey guys, welcome back to doremicom channel. We're here with Season 4, Episode 1 of the RTD, entitled The State of the Tabletop Gaming World. Much like the President's recent State of the Union address, and how it is supposed to be a recap of the previous year and an overview of how the nation is currently doing, the questions have been created intentionally vague because we see that the state of looking at something and evaluating it comes from different perspectives. We open up Season 4 of the RTD with our State of Tabletop Gaming, and with me today are my panel, starting first with Tony from the TheSustainableCenter.
Come visit my town.
He's coming to us live in stereo for whatever reason, and John from Wargame Painting.
Suit up, kids.
And our co-host, SolidSmurf.
What's up?
All right, here we go.
We gotta get better intros.
I like the suit up. That's actually what I was
Suit up
do,
is
but
classy.
It's very
really
nice.
is.
Yes, John really is more or less John's a stand-in for Orlando Bloom in the original Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Anyways, question number 1. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being there are no longer existing a tabletop gaming hobby to speak of, to 10 being the industry is as popular as the video game market, where are we today from a player's perspective, and what short list of factors is the cause for that number? We're going to go ahead and start with John from Wargame Painting.
All right, I give it a 7, mostly because it's become more acceptable in society. I think, at least for me and my group of friends, we're not like embarrassed or ashamed to go out and be like, hey, yeah, I'm a gamer. You know, I play with little toys on a table, and it's gotten easier to get in with the internet too. I mean, people have been able to find it easier, get to it easier.
All right. Tony, what's your take on this?
I gave it a 3 only because it does exist, so it can't be a 1, and 2 would be like in Infinity, a brand new game. Xbox has sold 66 million just consoles, and that's not secondhand market, and no way has tabletop gaming come anywhere near that number. So clearly it's very far away from a 10, so I give it a 3 in terms of popularity and worldwide appeal and acceptability.
But what factors do you think actually impact that?
I think the fact that a lot of people think it's a pretty nerdy game, it's a very expensive game, and it's very difficult to control your local environment where you live. And if nobody plays that game in your area, then your investment is kind of null, where your Xbox connects to anybody, anywhere, anytime.
All right. And Smurf, what's your take?
You know, I'm giving it a 4, because much like they said, it's expensive. It has that stigma. You know, you say, hey, you want to go roll some dice and talk about knights? And they're like, you're still a virgin, aren't you? And, you know, it's not like that, but people think it is. I mean, you walk into a room and you go, who knows what a Space Marine is? And everyone's like, what? And then you go, who plays Modern Warfare? And all the 13-year-olds are like, I do! So, I mean, definitely it's not anywhere near video games at all. 3, 4, what did I say? Somewhere 3.5.
You said you gave it a 4. Okay. I give it a 4 as well. I think there are a couple factors that influence this, but to begin with, I don't think even during like the high point of tabletop gaming and the low point of video gaming was the number ever higher than a 7. And so with a 4, I think economic conditions, the cost and type of expense that is the tabletop gaming, one of the positive things, something that's keeping away from the 3 that Tony talked about, is actually seeing more diversification in game. And yes, it's a double-edged sword, but the fact that there are more tabletop games available means that there's a greater chance that it'll appeal to some interest you might have. Something else that kind of keeps it down from being as close to that 7 number is alternatives to tabletop gaming, whether it be video games or whatever. And if I really looked at it from a freakonomics issue, I think the biggest issue is that people don't tend to stay in the same place very often. And so even when you do get a good group of people who can play locally, there's a good chance that factors outside your sphere of concern and control will mean that your tabletop gaming group will not always be there. Additional discussion. Extra discussion.
I think I think location has a big thing. I mean, last time, let's look at this. Last time you and I played a tabletop game versus last time you and I played a video game together, or me and John, or sorry, Tony, we don't really play video games together. Nope. I mean,
even though there's two of them.
I'm a 360 person.
I don't play Shogun Total War, but we're friends on Steam. I mean, that's close enough. But
that's really close.
You can just look at location, and it's so much easier to find dudes online that you can game with, every Friday night, and you can sit at home, eat pizza in your boxers versus having to drive out to a game store and meeting people up there.
Well, Smurf, let me back this up for a second and said, if there was some way to emulate the tabletop experience in a Vassal-like format, but something that was actually enjoyable, would that actually count for the tabletop group and not for the video game group?
Yeah, it definitely would. Because then you can sit at home in your boxers and play tabletop games. I mean, it would be amazing. No shame in that.
Tony disagrees. He says that's still video gaming, huh?
Once you make it virtual and you take the model away, then it's no longer a tabletop game because it's no longer on a table.
So I mean, Tony believes in no evolution.
What about if it's in an Excel spreadsheet?
I believe though that tabletop games revolve around miniatures on a table, and as soon as you digitize that, you're no different than the Xbox 360. I mean, then instead of playing chess on a table, you're playing chess on your computer, but now it's virtualized. And I think tabletop gaming's appeal is we all saw that first cool miniature, we picked it up and we held it, and that's what got us into this. Otherwise, it's another box with an Xbox label on it that's $60 that we go buy.
So, John, it sounds to me like if you listen to their opinion about things, everything's centered around the fact that we don't have enough hobbyists making models look pretty to keep people in the tabletop hobby. Did you want to weigh in on any of this?
Well, I gotta say the whole stigma of being a gamer, I don't see it anymore, ever. I mean, there's the occasional, guy who, his fat roll knocks models off the table and smells really bad and is eating KFC during the games. There's that guy still. He's still there. But there's more people like me. There's more people like me who go to game stores in a suit, who have nice hair, it's...
You have no hair.
But it's not, it's fun. But it's become more of a, by the second time, I'm not going to call it a date because I don't really like to date women. They're not really for dating. But the second time I see a girl, I usually break them into the tabletop aspect of it. I'm just like, I'm a nerd. And they're like, oh, I'm a nerd because, I played Smash Bros. Once. I'm like, no.
You're not a card-carrying member. Let's just accept that fact. Now, I gotta say that in the Raleigh area, it's pretty wild because even though we're giving it Smurf and I gave it a 4 and Tony gave it a 3, there isn't a tabletop gaming night that I don't see a ton of people there playing. But it seems like the reality is that it's a lack of growth that I think, at least for me, is what's keeping it above a 4.
Well,
anyways,
I gotta just throw this last thing in there. Over the course that I've been playing tabletop games, I mean, it doesn't have anything on either of the two panel members. I think I'm competing with Smurf. But in 10 years, I've seen this hobby explode. To compare to what it was when I was at my game store, which used to be called Two Tin Soldiers, it was 360-year-old guys reenacting the Battle of Waterloo, to being 4 local game stores, and literally every night of the week there's people there playing tabletop games. I mean, it's from that perspective, looking back at what it used to be for me compared to what it is now, I can only say that it's increased. That's why I justify giving it a 7.
And John, I think that's a very valid point. I think you approach the question more from a perspective of good versus bad, as opposed to it versus the alternative of video gaming, which tends to be a very, very super popular genre of things. So from the heart of the question, I think a 7 actually can make sense. We're going to go ahead and continue on to question 2 now. And question number 2. Question number 2, does the number change? Okay, everyone gave it 3, 4, or 7. So does the number change if we're looking at the tabletop gaming world from a game development perspective or a retail store for the game development perspective? If so, to what number, and why? What factors contribute to that? We're going to jump over to Tony from the Sustainable Center.
I give it a 2, and if I look at it from a retail store perspective, there's a lot of uncertainty, and I don't feel there's a great amount of support. And like you said, there's a core of people, less than 1% of the entire population in the area that this store is located, that even want to partake in this particular hobby. So a few people move out. They're the ones who schedule the weekly tournaments. They're the ones that introduce people to new games and demo them besides the store owner. And there's a lot of risk in that particular field. So I would definitely give it a 2.
Smurf, what's your take? Smurf's take.
This one's hard, mostly because in text I didn't understand the question. But I'm going to stick with a 3, because, again, you take the analogy of you walk into a room and say, who's heard of this game? And everyone's going to go, and then you're going to hold up the most popular game in the area, and you're going to go, who's heard of this one? And they're all going to jump for joy. I mean, it's very situational based on the game and what you're playing at, but I still don't think it's a mainstream contender for anything.
All right, John from Wargame Painting.
Never thought I'd see the day when I was the optimist in the group.
John, the perpetual optimist.
I did drop it down mainly because of the fact that you had the marketing and the game development in there. I dropped it down to about a 5 because there isn't a lot of new entries that people are willing to pick up. I mean, you go to your local game store and you see a ton of these games, but have you ever heard of anybody actually playing them? I haven't. I mean, Privateer Press. Yeah, well, put your hand down. You hear of like Privateer Press and Just Now Infinity, and then what are the other 2 big ones? You've got 40K and Fantasy, and then there's Dystopian Wars that, I'm not even sure really what it is, but I've heard about it, and Flames of War is another one. I'm not really sure what it is, but I've heard of it. So, I mean, there's a lot that are being introduced into the market, but not a lot that people are willing to, drop away from their safety net and go play. So that dropped it down for me. But game stores, I think, are picking up the baton and running with it. I can't say anything negative about any of my local game stores. It's just, and we were talking about this earlier about the internet community. It's the community that's killing hobbies. It's the douchebags who, roll behind terrain or cheat blatantly in front of you or, do these things that make you not want to be a part of it. But I have nothing bad to say about the merchandise that people bring. I have nothing bad to say about the owners of the stores or the people who set up the tournaments. So.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in my 2 cents here. I actually am going to bump up the number from my 4 to a 5, and the reason is that we're having more competition against GW's weird restrictions to selling their own product. Now that we have more diversification, you do have more people coming out. Again, finding something that matches how they play the game and continuing on with it. It's not in the same league as like talking about an online distribution model like Steam, but you do have a stronger presence. But the reason it's only a 5 is, again, still economic concerns. This is hobbyist games in general, because of the high cost to entry and with economic concerns, it's usually the last thing that people worry about. Usually it's, like rent and food and transportation and, item number 563, tabletop games. It kind of falls into that. But I think actually with and again, here's my Freakonomics analysis here. I think with fewer people going out to the actual movies, it is actually freeing up more money to go do things that are outside of their purview because they can always wait a week and a half and see it for $1 in Redbox. All right. Continue discussion.
I mean, I think a perfect example, Tony, I'm going to use you. It was you that was talking about the Puppet something game, right?
Yeah, Puppet Wars.
Yeah, Puppet Wars. They have that at my local store. I held the box. I looked at it. I turned around to my group. I said, guys, what do you think? It's puppets. And they were like, we have fantasy. We have Privateer Press stuff. Why do we need puppets? And I was like, this is interesting, but it's definitely, it's an investment because it was like $80 for the starter box. And a lot of them just weren't willing to venture out, and I don't blame them.
All right, Smurf, Tony, jump in there with your Puppet Wars.
So it was $50, but I think again there's more diversification in the field of the miniature hobby, but they're competing over the same amount of customers. So they're just splitting the pie more, but it's not a growing market. And I think Puppet Wars is a perfect example. So for mainstream gamers like us who play, with this kind of stuff right here, Puppet Wars is a board game. It's not very complex. It's something that doesn't appeal to everything we like about the hobby. However, Puppet Wars is also really cool for somebody who wants to run it as a hybrid. It's a board game. It's 30 minutes. It's more accepting to those people who will never pick up the miniatures we pick up and play with. And I can maybe get my wife to play Puppet Wars, but she'll never play War Machine. I mean, and that's the kind of place where if I was going to design a game, I would go. It's that hybrid space. And you can always grow it out. But once you get to the War Machine and 40K realm, you can't pull it back and make it a board game. I mean, look at Space Hulk. How popular is that? How many times do people see people throwing out Space Hulk? I mean, it doesn't happen. It was like Mousetrap. It took longer to build the board than it did actually play the actual game. It's like, no, we're going to play that board for like 3 weeks, dude. It took me 3 hours to put it together. We're not shuffling to mission 2 anytime soon. So I don't think we ever made it through the book, but I think that's where it's going.
So Tony, follow-on question. Do you think the general wargamers' perspective is that they have a higher expectation of what to expect from their tabletop games, and that's actually contributing to whether they decide to pick up a new game or not?
I think it's very individualized as, again, to what part of the hobby you enjoy, because it's a very expansive hobby, from the gaming to the hobbying to all the pieces in between. And it's really businesses trying to guess what part of that hobby they're going to, particularly grab onto, from the open the box and play it to you have to assemble it, build it, and paint it. And I don't think they really know where to target, so they take bits and pieces from everywhere, and they try to appeal to everyone. But I think at the end of the day, it's your life changes and your priorities change, and assembling is no longer important to you, and now it's just playing, and it's very difficult for a game to balance all of those different factors. And I think that's why you see all these new companies coming in, because they're trying to catch on to the people who are just interested in doing this, skirmishes, or interested in doing massive battles, or interested in sci-fi versus fantasy, or anything in between.
John, you being the most positive of the group thus far, did you want to expand at all? Here's a little more time to expand on your thoughts.
I'm gonna wag the finger at everybody else. Wasting my life as a film major, looking at films. What is the most popular thing that's been coming out? What has been coming out regularly the last 6 years? Sequels, prequels, remakes. It's all that's coming out. And the reason why is because people are afraid to branch out. They're afraid to leave the safety net. They know that this sells. It might sell terribly, but it sells. It'll open opening weekend, and then it won't ever make any money again. But they're ready to make that because they make their money back that weekend. People as gamers have to go out and buy Puppet Wars. I mean, you have to branch out. You have to go. And if you have to be that guy who brings the board game every Thursday night or whatever, and it's like, here, come play, demo it with me, you get people roped into it, and you're going to start to do it. This is how Privateer Press happened. I had never heard of it. There was a guy there who just demoed it. He's like, John, it's awesome. Drive up to Canada with us. It'll be fun. Little did I know that I was going to be eating onion sandwiches the entire time, and getting frisked by the Border Patrol. But yeah, it was
You
fun.
liked that.
No, I think
I never said I didn't.
No, I think I'm gonna tell John that he can't wag a finger at me because I'm that guy. I definitely
You
do
are that guy.
buy
And I
6
give you props,
armies.
I bow down to you, right? I'm not worthy, whatever.
Please, I just
I agree with John because
people need to let go. They have to take that leap of faith.
But that's a lot of work and money and time that people don't have. Again, I don't have to do anything but buy Modern Warfare 3 and pop it in, and everything is done for me. Not only do I have to spend all this money and assemble my puppets and paint them and learn the rules, now I have to spend 3 months every Thursday trying to demo it and plead people to play just so I can get enjoyment for my investment. You know, my time is worth something too, and I'll probably burn out way before I get to that point. And I think games that will be successful are the ones that are going to do all that legwork ahead of time for you or pay somebody else to do it, because people are not just willing to do that now. It's not part of your investment.
not if it comes at a price, though.
I agree with you.
Question number 3, looking at the YouTube wargaming community, I know this is going to be a flame-inducing question. Just listen to what we have to say, okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no viable content to 10 being even greater amounts and or quality of content compared to 2 or 3 years ago when we started the RTD, which I kind of think is more or less the tabletop community's renaissance era. What is the current state of the YouTube wargaming community and why? And again, this is on a scale of 1 to 10. We are going to go ahead and start off with SolidSmurf.
Current state, it's at a 5. It's right in the middle. It's on this teetering point. You asked me 3 years ago, I would have said it was about a 7 or an 8. Right now, it's down to a 5. And what's ruining it, what's killing it, ready? People wanting to make money. People saying, this is what you got to do to have a successful channel. This is what you got to do to make money off YouTube. This is how you're awesome on YouTube. Because then it sets the bar so high that Joe Schmo down here, who might not have an HD camera, can't even get in because people won't give him the time of day, even if he's a Golden Demon winner. People aren't going to look at him because they don't have the Beast of War, the mini wargaming, the this, the that. Or they're not going to be able to make that production value. So when that bar is set so high, nobody's going to go watch.
All right, John, what's your thoughts?
I flip-flopped a lot on this question. I was going to give it a 1. And then Brian yelled at me. So I was going to give it a 10. And then I
yelled at him again.
Lying. So, but in all honesty, I think it's about a 7. I find content on YouTube enjoyable. I find good stuff. I find people who are out there who can actually really paint really well, and they may not necessarily have an HD camera, but the way they make up for that is they take still pictures and they talk over it. Compared to other genres like the video game YouTube community, the music video game community, the independent music video game community, and then just all the other random stuff that, at 3 o'clock in the morning you click and you're just like, why am I awake? Why am I watching this stuff? Right? Our community is way superior to that. It's usually right on topic. It's what I want. If I want to find bat reps, I can find it. If I want to find painting videos, I can find it. If I want to find anything else, I can find it. I'm not subscribed to Beast of War, and I just stopped subscribing to Mini Wargaming because honestly their high production values make worse content than the independent stuff, because they're like, oh, look, we can make an intro with music and la-di-da-di-da-di, special effects, and now we have 4 minutes of content on a 28-minute video. Or, we repeat the same video 6 times a day, so we release, 24 videos every 2 days. But I think that the independent stuff is really good. I think it's about a 7.
All right, Tony, what's your thoughts?
I'm going to give it a 5, and I agree with Smurf a lot. I mean, this started off as a blog, and it was more about, you cared about Joe Schmo and like his journey through the hobby and his little micro environment and what he was doing. You found that cool. Now it's commercialized and it's become go to watching paint dry to learn how to paint, and go to this individual for army tactics and go to this person for reviews. And it's become very, I'm going to go to Home Depot if I need my supplies to build a shed. And if I want something cheap, I'm going to go to Walmart. It's become these mega stores, these mega channels that crank out content material constantly, where quantity has a quality all of its own. And then it's the mom and pop shops like us, maybe not doremicom, but like us, who pump out a video here, a video there. We don't all have 10,000 subs. I mean, we all don't have HD cameras. But we pump out a video here, a video there, and it's more personalized. And it's not really, I want to know this, and I want to know exactly how to do it, and it has our flavor on it. So it doesn't appeal to what people want anymore. And I think that the bar, as Smurf said, of production went way through the roof. As soon as you involved money in making this money-going venture like Mini Wargmaing and Beast of War, and even now Blue Tail Painting is doing, you can't compete with people like us who are not making any YouTube money to put time and effort into the high quality and the quantity of our videos.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw my hat in the ring because I put myself in the same boat as all y'all. I think the number is about a 5 as well, might even be a 4. But you're dealing with a lot of issues, a lot of channels that were out making videos for economic reasons. People aren't, real life issues are happening. As a community, we've gotten older, so a lot of the people who are posting videos quite regularly in this realm are starting to deal with, going to the dentist more often for caps and whatnot, and dealing with, making sure they're taking their high blood pressure medications and all that kind of wonderful stuff. And it's actually kind of hurt because we don't have the tabletop world does not have such a massive influx of new players that newer people have kind of taken over to fill that gap. Much like Smurf said, the greater desire to monetize YouTube channels has created a higher expectation level of the viewers. And when you compare a new channel against a financially backed super channel and stores that are sponsoring their own YouTube videos who have an economic reason behind wanting to post a video, you really find a disparity, and that disparity is causing a lot of YouTube viewers, those that have remained, to posting really negative feedback on the smaller channels who, like John said, are quite often posting the most unique stuff and doing it in a way that actually inspires people to get back into the hobby. So my answer is 5, maybe a 4. Continued discussion.
So I was right?
No, well, your number was right, but your reason was absolutely wrong.
I think so. I think to close for the round table, so that way the comments and the flames aren't as bad, is if I'm a small channel and I made a couple of videos and I have like 12 subscribers or 15 subscribers, or I'm thinking about starting my channel up again, or if I want to start a new channel, what's this panel's advice on, is that even worth pursuing, or is that just something that's going to be a complete waste of my time? I mean, I struggle to find a way to put out original content because the market got saturated, and I'm not going to put out crap, even though I think I put out some crap. I'm not going to put out real crap just for the sake of I put out a video.
But Tony, even your junk showed that you were, like, your garbage videos showed your passion for the actual hobby, and I think that is really what is missing. So if you're a new YouTube channel, go out there and show us you having fun, because that's what's going to get you subscribers. It's going to go, that dude's having fun with this hobby that I may have kind of felt burnout on. I'm going to go watch his videos because I want to have the fun he's having, and I want to know or what he or she is doing that's making that element of fun come back into the hobby.
What's the channel's name that I'm thinking of? Alexandra's video channel. She actually does what?
Girl painting.
Actually does good videos for painting. If you want to learn how to do some painting, she actually does good ones because they're 5 minutes long, and she skips drying steps. She skips steps. She skips steps altogether. And she's like, Here, watch. We're putting on a base coat. Do you want me to paint the entire model? No. Here's the finished model with the base coat. You understand how to dip your brush in paint and run it over the model. These other big guys clearly think that we're retarded because they're like, here's a picture of us dipping it in the paint can. Now we're going to bring it over here and paint the model. Oh, God, we're out of paint. What do we do? We're going to dip it in the paint can. I mean, it's... So, again, I'm going to wag the finger at everybody out there. Take the 10 minutes to go look for content that is enjoyable.
Fantastic. And here's the ending of part 1.